The program features live coverage of an African safari and may include animal kills and carcasses. Viewer discretion is advised.
Good morning, and finally the clouds have disappeared, the sun has come out, and this is Safari Live.
Ready. Standing by.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1. You are live, you are live.
Good morning, good morning. Isn't this an incredible way to start your day by looking at a silhouetted tree against the most beautiful skies? Now, my name is Taylor, and on camera with me this morning we've got David. Right, now we've had a look at this beautiful sunrise. We're actually going to head up onto the dam wall, and I think we're going to have another look at it. What do you think, David? I think we're going to, well, actually no, we're going to stop right here. I'm just going to pull off the road because here comes the sun, and then that's all the words I know. But here it is. How beautiful is that? And often we see the sun just disappearing behind the horizon. Now this morning, we're watching something quite different. We're watching it come up from saying goodnight to the rest of the world, and well, it's saying good morning to us. Now we're on a live safari at the moment, and I'd love to hear from you. So in case you've just started watching, you're welcome to either hashtag Safari Live, or you can even send us an email with any questions or comments that you have, questions@WildEarthTV. And I suspect in a couple of minutes, as the sun peeps over the top of those trees, we're going to get the dawn chorus. Should we listen out and see if we can hear it? Bit quiet still, starting in the distance, but I suspect the closer we get to the Mulwati, we're going to hear a lot of very happy and chirpy birds this morning, because there is not a breath of wind. It's only about 68 degrees Fahrenheit, but it feels a lot warmer than that. And I just think that we're going to finally have one of those summery days that we've been waiting for. Not that we haven't enjoyed the rain, of course. That's been very pleasant. And I know that the animals, of course, are going to appreciate that more than we as humans will. Isn't that just spectacular? Now, David, there's one thing. Have you seen who's woken up on top of that big nest in the big tree? I want to show you. Oh, and as I said, that there was a buffalo weaver. You can see it just flying across the middle of the screen. There it goes. The buffalo weaver had just popped out of its nest, sat very briefly on top of that dead tree that we silhouetted earlier. And now the day begins, searching for food, rebuilding the nests. It's a hard life out here for the birds. The days never stop. Now, what we're going to do now, something more exciting than the sunrise, and I'm sure you're going to agree with me, is that we are going to go on an adventure and see if we can find Karula and her cubs. Now, Mr. Herbert this morning actually told me that apparently they were last seen going west on Elephant Carcass. So we're just approaching Treehouse Dam now. And we're going to have a little look around here. We'll probably jump straight onto Elephant Carcass and just see where we can pick up those last tracks And then, well, we'll see if we can find her. Let's keep our fingers crossed and hope that she hasn't gone south, because the boundary is very, very close. But so far I haven't seen any tracks along here. Now, it's not just James and I out here this morning. Stef is desperately wanting to say good morning.
And a good morning it is to you. This is the first clear day that we've had in what feels like to be weeks at the moment. And although I really enjoy the rain and I really enjoy the clouds, it is definitely a beautiful morning. And what we've got is an added bonus of the moon shining still brightly in the sky. Have a look at that. Apparently the moon was supposed to be about 40% larger when it was full, which probably was around about 3 or 4 days ago now. I can't really remember the exact date, but it was supposed to be 40% larger. What that actually means, I don't know. Does it look any bigger to me than it usually does? I don't know, potentially. It may look a little bit bigger. No, not too sure, to be quite honest. For those of you who are meeting me for the first time, my name is Stef. We are on bushwalk, and the reason for that is because it gives us a bit of a different perspective to vehicle safaris. In Africa, you get 2 different types of safaris. You get safaris in a vehicle, and then you get safaris on foot. Both have been very common for the last couple of decades, and they both have a slightly different take on what to show you and what to expect when we're out here in the wilderness. On camera today, we've got VM. And of course, we've got the ever-present Herbie keeping us nice and safe. What are we going to do today? That's actually a good question. Herbie says that he wants to go south, and so south it is for no other reason than that's what he wants to do today. Sometimes we have a bit of a mission in mind, or we're keeping the wind in a particular direction. Today the wind is coming from the north, blowing into the south, but it's not very strong, and so we won't have to walk with any wind consideration just yet. All right. Let's go up onto quarantine and see what there is to see here today. Bird calls around the camp this morning started at around about 10 to 4, which is it's showing that summer is coming along, I must be honest. The earlier the birds start calling, we know that the seasons are stretching out into summer. And for me, summer started on the 1st of November. And we just got this vibrant green at the moment that's sort of just suffusing everything. Just have a look across quarantine here. Just a few short weeks ago, I'm talking about in October, there wasn't a green thing or a plant on this plain. It was literally just sand. That was what it was. Now, you can hardly take a step without stepping onto something green. It just absolutely amazed me that with all the wind and animals and just length of time that that there was just sand here, that any seeds at all or any roots at all were even left here. It was just, I suppose the bush has been weathering droughts for the last couple of 100 million years. I think by now it's learned how to do it properly, eh? Alright, and on that note, giving us some time to get to the other side of quarantine clearings, why don't we go and see what Mr. Henry is up to.
Good morning everybody, and welcome to this end of the Sunrise Safari. There indeed is the rising sun. My name is James Henry, and on camera today, Brian. 39 drives in a row, Joubert. Very nice. And his thumb, who's looking a little peaky. Is your thumb not well?
No, he's just tired.
He's just tired. Okay, well, fair enough. Now, we of course are live, as Stefan is live, and Taylor is live. Hashtag Safari Live if you want to talk to us. Otherwise, today in the morning you can in fact email us questions@WildEarthTV, and we shall answer your questions. We've come into this area around Djuma Dam to find the lions of the Nkuhuma Pride. Now, as many of you will know, there's been some distressing time for them. 2 or 3 cubs, possibly even 4, seem to have gone down with a mysterious disease. Now, what we're going to do as we drive along is explain to you the latest theory as to what's going on with it. and what we think the case is. And I know that for many of you this has been a particularly distressing time, and I understand that completely. It's been very nasty for us too. But what we think is going on, well, what happened yesterday is that the Sabi Sand did an assessment. Here are some tracks. They did an assessment, and their assessment showed, after consultation with the vet, that what we probably have here is something called white mussel disease, or a variation thereof. Now, this is caused by a nutritional deficiency, often brought on by droughts. It is the nutrients that are lacking apparently are most often selenium and vitamin E. Those are the two macronutrients or micronutrients that are most often missing. And this is where they were yesterday, says Brian. We don't see them there now. That's good news in some ways. Now, Herbert did hear a buffalo he thought being killed just north of the Gallagher Pan. Now, we didn't see them earlier. We have driven past that area, but we're going to go and do a more extensive search now. So, white mussel disease is what we think it is. Now, it is not anthropogenic in effect, and I'm not sure what the veterinary treatment for something like that would be in a wild population of lions. But what will happen is that if we do find a dead cub, then that cub will be taken off just to make sure, for an autopsy, just to make sure. But it would seem that it, as distressing as it has been, it is maybe possible for them to survive it. And so the policy of non-interference will be applied. Joanne in Denver, you're wondering how many cubs are left. I think at last count there were 4 or 5 left. I think it was, we were a little suspicious that there wasn't another one going down. There were definitely at least 3 down, and I think there was a suspicion that there could have been another one. So we'll try and find that out for you. But it is not an anthropogenic disease. It is not a disease caused by human beings. It's caused by drought. And it's interesting because, of course, we thought everyone was going to, all the predators were going to have a great time during the drought. They did. They ate a lot. But the quality of that food, not very good. And apparently it's transferred into the milk of the mothers. And so while they're producing a lot of milk, there is often a nutrient deficiency. And vitamin E and the crucial kind of trace, it's not a trace element, what do we call them? I suppose it might be called a trace element. Selenium, very, very important for immune functioning or immune system functioning, seems to be crucially lacking. And that's not surprising in an area like this. Everything out here is on a nutrient sort of balance. Because the soil is so poor, so much of the food is really not very nutritious. Right, we'll drive around to the north along the Gallagher shortcut, which is the road that goes along to the west of the Gallagher Pan. There are some Impalas and a Nyala. It's very bright there. Sorry about that, Brian, but you know the cookathon, as you said, has begun. And Maria, no, we have not. You're saying, are we having any babies yet? And I haven't seen one. I find it very strange by this stage. It's not very strange at all. I find it, well, I just like to see one, really. I find it such a joyful time when the little ones are knocking about the place. It must be any day now that the northern Sabi Sand will produce its first Impala lamb. They have been seen down in the south, around Sabi, where Brent's brother works. But still nothing there. We'll just have a quick scan over that herd. You can see the male's sort of blood is up. He's definitely been affected, I think, by the increased hormones that are being produced just prior to the birth. And that, of course, is a Nyala that you're looking at behind the Impala, a young bull Nyala. Quite nice there. You can see the difference between the two sizes. Those are 2 Nyalas, obviously. But the Nyala bull is the first size of animal that you would call a bull. Mrs. Wahlberg is being attacked. I'm just going... No, we might be able to see it. The sun is very bright. Oh, well done, Brian. Mrs. Wahlberg was being attacked there by a couple of rollers. They said, "Hie thee back to thine nest, where thine small baby is waiting for thee." Didn't they, Brian?
I did.
You heard them say that, didn't you? I thought you might. Okay, let's leave these chaps. They've headed off into the bushes because the cookathon is going to begin shortly. And we'll head off across quarantine and see what we can find there. I thought we might find a zebra, but indeed we have not found a zebra. In fact, Stefan has found a zebra.
We certainly have found a zebra, but just one it seems, and one just standing on the southern end of quarantine clearings. There probably are a few more there. Zebra tend toward spending their evenings on open clearings, giving them the best ability to see any predators coming, and obviously they have the greater speed advantage. Speed and endurance is actually on their side. And that ever-present swishing of the tail. You'll hardly ever find a zebra with a still tail. It is sort of one of those defining characteristics. And quite often you'll find zebra standing top to tail, in other words, heads on either end, so that they swat the flies from their friend's face, and the reciprocal is gifted, I suppose. I just find them the most peculiar animals. Them and giraffe have to be some of the weirdest large mammals that we find out here. They're just very different to everything else that you see. With my favorite part of a zebra being that blaze on the forehead. Just that funny chevroned pattern. Look at that face from the side there. Always looking healthy. They have a hindgut fermentation digestive system, very similar to warthog, rhinoceros, hippopotamus and elephant. And of all the animals out here, have probably managed to weather the storm of the drought the best, to be honest. Now let's see how close this zebra will allow us to get. They have these things called comfort zones. Everyone has comfort zones, but what we want to do is be on the edge of not the fight or flight comfort zone, because obviously it's going to be making a decision to move off. What we want to do is literally just go into a comfort zone where it's comfortable with us, but not before it moves away. And maybe we're lucky and we can see where that is. Sometimes for some animals, under some conditions, it's quite far. Zebra have this tendency to have some patience with humans. But Taylor has a bird, and before it flies away, I think it's a good idea that we send you there.
We've got a variety of birds around here this morning. We've just arrived at Twin Dams. Now this is a tawny flank Prinia. Now listen to its call. No, here we go. Isn't that absolutely beautiful? There we go, and off it goes. Now, of course, what that bird was doing, it was having a chat, announcing to everybody else that's out here this morning that it is awake, and well, that's its territory. Now, it's not just the tawny flank Prinia that I've seen. There's a Hadada that I've been trying to work out. Every time I come around to Twin Dams, I see a Hadada, and I thought, well, that's a bit bizarre. It must be a coincidence. It's not. I'm going to show you why. But it's just up ahead. Let's see if we can see it again. David, now we've got to try and find a sneaky gap here, hey? Let's see. There we go. We're going to go around the corner and we'll get a view. We're probably going to only get a silhouette. Okay, I'm going to try and sneak, but can you see exactly where it is, hey? Okay. I'm not telling you yet. You're going to have to just be patient. I'm going to go a little bit further along. Look at what we have found. Isn't that just incredible? It is a Hadada, and here comes the Hadada, the male, who's building the nest. You'll see it's just on the left-hand side, and I think we gave it a little bit of a fright. Okay, you might not see it because it's behind a big branch. And we found this Hadada nest. Now, that makes so much sense as to why every single time I come here, this Hadada is sitting down. Now, a Hadada is a very, very common bird, or Hadada ibis, in South Africa, and there's a variety of different ibis species. And this is typically one that you see in your garden all the time. Now, I've never come across a Hadada nest before. And look what she's doing, how she's clattering her bill. That was the male, there he is. Trying to strengthen the nest. I wonder if that is even a female. Oh my goodness, well, that whoever Hadada that is, that's very busy. I just want to have a quick look at my app because there's no sexual dimorphism between Hadadas. Let's go to ibises quickly. We'll do this together, because this is all new. Now, that's very interesting behavior, the way it's clattering its bill like that. I'm not 100% sure. You see, they just talk about the adult race here, so in terms of color. So I just want to show you very quickly so you can see they all look the same. Very difficult to tell who's who in the zoo here between male and female, but that's okay, no problem. I just wanted to confirm that there wasn't a sexual dimorphism. And it seems as though it is indeed the female that does most of the work in terms of sitting on the nest. So very much like the magpie shrike, the male will go off and feed the female as well as keep bringing sticks to strengthen the nest. Now, I don't know if there are eggs here already. It looks like they've got a well-established nest. But this is another nest that we're going to be able to follow. Isn't this incredible? And it makes sense as to why the Hadada is constantly on the ground, and he's obviously been out looking for various building materials. And I suppose he'll have to feed her at some point too. Now, that'll be quite interesting as he probes around looking for various grubs and things. And she's just keeping a watchful eye on what is happening down below. That's very typical for the females to actually sit on the nest. I thought I heard him coming back in, but it doesn't seem like it's him. Now, we'll probably leave these lovebirds and let them carry on because we're actually quite close to them. I'm surprised that we didn't disturb them. Now, David, where's my nest? Where's the other nest? Oh, it's up here. Hang on. Can you see it or should I go back? Look at this. Now, sorry, Tom in Dallas, you were wondering what the name of the bird was that we just saw. A Hadada ibis. Very, very common bird, one of the more annoying ones. I'll make the call for you, but not right now because I don't want to frighten these poor Hadadas. Now, some of you may remember from probably about a week ago, we came across a southern masked weaver and we found his nest. But it looks as though he has given up and hasn't completed his nest. Now, I wonder why that is. Maybe it wasn't a good spot. Maybe it was a terrible nest and a female came around and said, well, you're not doing a good job at all. And he's moved on because I haven't seen any activity. But I've seen a couple of other nests, so we'll try and go and find them and see if they're having any more luck. There's lots of birds. There's a cuckoo shrike that's going... Let's see if we can see it, because that's my favorite bird at the moment. I'm cuckoo shrike mad. Can you hear it, David?
Yeah.
Let's see. I'm just going to go back a bit, because if it's the female cuckoo shrike, it's one that we're trying to get on our list. We've seen the male. Now we need to see the beautiful female. But first I have to chat to Herbie. Stay by. Let's see if we can see it. It's up here in the top of the trees. I'm just sitting at Twin Dams. Right. I don't know where this cuckoo shrike is. It's hiding right in the tops of this jackalberry, which obviously makes it quite difficult to have a look. I'm actually just looking in the monitor now to see if I can see it jumping around. But I can't, so what I'll have to do instead, I'll just have to show you a real-life photo of a cuckoo shrike. Then let me very quickly get back to the families. Let's go see. We've got to go down a little bit. Right, now that's better. We'll just scroll. Where's the female? Look at that. Isn't she beautiful? And I think I've showed some of you before, but just in case, I know there's a lot of new viewers who have started watching, which is fantastic. So good morning to all of you. And if you haven't started a bird list and you've just started watching, I highly recommend starting one. It's not a competition. It's just so much fun. And we're able to see the most incredible birds out here. Like, it's really, really special. And I've added a few. Remember, we saw that hepatic common cuckoo, the liver-coloured common cuckoo the other morning, which was really fantastic. But it seems like this cuckoo shrike doesn't want to come out for us. What was that? Now, Fuzzman Sparkles, you're wondering, seeing as though we were talking about the ibis and looking at the ibis earlier, you asking what other species of ibis do we think we could possibly see out here? The only one I've seen in this particular area is the Hadada ibis, but there's another one, and I'm going to show you. Should we go to the ibises? Let's take the book out. Let's have a look. Now, you will typically find an African sacred ibis, which is a beautiful bird. It's black and white. Let's find it though. But they prefer sort of marshy areas along rivers that are flowing though. They're sort of a little bit more aquatic than the Hadada ibis. Right, we've got to find I. I didn't realize how important the alphabet would be to me. Just joking, just teasing, just being silly this morning. And I still do that A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I. There we go, and then go like that. But now I can't find it. I think I is obviously a very small section. Here it is. Let's go to page number 58. Now, if you're laughing at my book, please don't, because it's very old. It's got no front cover anymore. It's got tape on the back holding it together. It's been with me for over 5 years now. It's been rained on. It's had everything on it, really. Right, here's the ibises. You just try and hold it open. Now, my hat's in the way. Let me just shuffle to the side. I'm just going to point. Here's the African sacred ibis that I was telling you about. You can see the very distinct black head, couple of black tail feathers, and then, of course, the black legs, and then the beautiful white body. And like I said, a little bit more aquatic, hanging around marshlands or along the riverbanks. Now, I've seen a glossy ibis before, which is down right at the bottom of the page, but that was down in the Eastern Cape, and they're very easy to sort of mix up between the Hadada ibis. But you can sort of see they're a lot more brown in color, and often you'll find them in and amongst a herd of Hadada ibis. So when you see a flock of them, believe it or not, the Hadada ibis are actually quite gregarious, and you'll often see them out foraging together. And you look carefully and you may see one of those glossy ibises, but a special one, I've only seen a couple. Now, one that I haven't seen yet is a southern bald ibis. Look at that crazy looking thing. Never seen one of those, absolutely dying to see one. And there's a possibility you could see it around in this area, sort of the northeastern corner, but I think you probably need to go maybe a little bit more towards the coast. I haven't heard of too many sightings up here. And that's it really for the ibis species. So we'll keep an eye out though. The one that we could potentially see is the African sacred ibis. So Fuzzman Sparkles, we'll keep an eye out for that one. Perhaps it will be a new bird for some of you. Now, the call. Oh, David's just reminded me I've got to do the call of the Hadada ibis. Thanks, David. Sure. Ha ha! You got to do it with me. Ha ha! There we go, that's the Hadada ibis call. Right, enough of that silly games. I'm going to carry on trying to find Karula. Let's go across to Stef and see how his morning's going.
You come back to us while we're busy investigating a hole in this termite mound that's over here. Now, there's quite an obvious excavation. This mound of sand here at a different sort of gradient to the rest of the termite mound. It leads to the fact, and then when you come a bit closer, you'll see that there's an aardvark excavation in the base of this particular termite mound. But what caught my eye is the fact that inside there's a bunch of flies sitting on the sand. Now, I'm just busy seeing whether or not these are blowflies or carrion flies, or whether they're they are the botfly that we are used to seeing inside of here, and I would think that they are the botfly. So there one is on the, can you see him over there on the left hand side of the wall there, Via? There, at the end of the stick's shadow.
Is that the one on the other side?
Oh right, there's a whole bunch of them there. So there you have a type of botfly which infests, or follows at least anyway, aardvarks. And what they do is they follow the aardvark because their baby fly, or the larval form of the fly, the maggot, hatches out of the sand at the entrance of these burrows where the aardvark live, and then attaches itself to the aardvark. And on the front of the botfly larvae's mouth part, he has a hooked mouth part, and he scrapes off pieces of skin from the aardvark, living off of the skin, and then going through a metabolism in the sand again, coming out as the fly, who then flies around and waits for an aardvark. So the presence of these flies is sometimes indicative, almost always indicative, of there being an aardvark in the burrow at the moment. So we think, at least anyway, I think that there is an aardvark in this burrow, the presence of all these botfly at the entrance. I read something quite interesting today, to be quite honest, and I think I need to share it with you. The flies have, one of the redeeming characteristics of a fly is its ability to breed and to proliferate numbers. And there was a gentleman, it's a professor from Stanford College, who believes, at least anyway, that a fly's ability to breed is so massive that if all the insect predators of flies were to disappear, that the earth would be covered in maggots a meter deep, this deep, 3 feet deep, in 12 months. I mean, I find that statement pretty hard to believe, but even if it's half of that, can you imagine? Just some facts are just mind-blowing. All right, Vim, are you going to be able to climb up here without a rope? Yes? He is. Today is a fantastic day. Just have a look now. We've got the sun casting this quite yellow glow on this dead knobthorn, with the moon in the background. Very nice. Something for your screenshots this morning. Can have it as your desktop for the day. That's a very nice picture. Yes. It is just another one of these pretty epic days. Now, last year we had a lot of luck with insects on these Waltheria plants, and I'm hoping that this year is no different. What we've got here is the eggs of an insect. Let me see. So there on the bottom side is the hatched eggs of some insect. Hatched because the tops of those eggs have broken open, and whatever was inside them has escaped. Minute things. Are the insects that escaped from those eggs still on this plant? Not that I can see. No, which is a pity. Oh well, onward we go. Suppose you've had enough looking at the top of my bald head there. All right. Now, while we carry on searching this little valley in front of us for something interesting to show you, why don't we go see what James is up to.
No, I'm very sorry, everybody. I have nothing further to report on my lion hunt. Safe to say that I have not found any tracks at all. Anyway, we'll do a little drive around here and then see what else we can see. Now, we are going to play the game Two Truths and One Lie. And the reason we're going to play the game Two Truths and One Lie is, well, one, it's quite entertaining sometimes. And secondly, we need to just try a few things out before the TV show this afternoon. Now, while Louise is setting herself up in the final control, I will just tell you that, of course, the TV show will be from 4 to 6, normal time. You can watch it on the internet, just like you do normally, but the rest will watch it on television. And we need to just quickly practice that Two Truths and One Lie. We do not want to make a hash of it while we're on television, do we, Brian?
No.
No, we do not. Now, my Two Truths and One Lie are about lions this morning. The first truth, or lie, is lions have been domesticated and used as hunting animals before, notably by the Mongols. That is the first fact. The second fact is lions were once the most widely distributed animal in all the world. Mammal, not animal, mammal. In all the world. Those are the two facts. The third fact is the following. Lion dung smells appalling. Those are the three facts. Tell me which one you think is untrue. And then we shall tell if our poll is working. Now, Herbert swore blind that he heard some lions killing something here yesterday evening, but I don't see even a track. So I don't know what's going on. Sorry, yes, we're not doing a poll, that's why we have to do this. You have to tweet in which fact you think is rubbish. So 1, lions were once domesticated and used as hunting dogs by the Mongols. 2, lions were once the most widely distributed mammal in all the world. 3, Brian, I'll let you give us this one.
Lion dung smells delicious.
There we are. Actually, lion dung smells appalling. There we go. There are your 3 facts. And once we've gone through here, we're going to go down past where the last male was seen. I think many people are sharing your concern. You say, do I think that this disease, or any disease that we've seen out here, is going to be limited to the lions, or do you think that it could go to the leopards as well? I suspect it could go to the leopards as well, yes, Sherry. I think, though, that those little leopards have been weaned now. Remember, they're 9.5 months old, which means they've been weaned for almost half a year, which means they were weaned before the drought really took hold. And so I don't believe that there's any nutritional deficiency from their mother's milk. This white mussel disease apparently only affects very young animals and is caused by a lack of the selenium and vitamin E in the milk. So I really don't think that it is going to affect our leopards here. Were 2 leopards to have been, say, 2 months old now, and the leopardess, while killing, lacked those nutrients in the food that she was killing, then yes, I suppose it would be possible. But I really think that those 2 leopards are, they've been eating meat now on their own for a good 6 months. So I think they'll be just fine. Sorry, Joanne, the comms are breaking up with the FC. I'm going to get it again. Right. Okay, Joanne, a nice one from you about whether the more varied diet by the Nkuhumas would perhaps have resulted in a greater chance, more nutrients. So if they hadn't just been eating buffalo for the last little while, would it not have helped their nutritional status? I don't know. I think it's quite possible. They did eat a waterbuck. They ate one of those things not too long ago. But Joanne, yes, certainly that's an interesting one, and I haven't thought about it. But the buffalo, of course, have been suffering more than most. They have looked most appalling. And so I suppose it is quite possible that because they've only been eating the most nutritionally deficient, the most nutritionally starved animals out here, it's quite possible that that has had a greater effect on them. Yeah, it's an interesting thought. There's another nice group of impala coming through there. We'll just go around here. We're going to scour every impala herd for signs of a baby. For it is always a small noddy badge to see the first impala baby, isn't it, Brian? Yes. They are just here with our Waterbuck lady friend. The cookathon has begun. You can see the golden light of the morning has almost already faded away to bleached white. And that is why they're already in the shade, these ladies. It's interesting, one of them is obviously a very different colour from the other, and one is an adult and one is not quite an adult yet. The one on the left seems to be much darker, and I wonder why that is the case. I do like their face paint, don't you, Brian? It looks like war paint. Yes. So many of the antelope have got white patches on their faces and noses. And you can also find any number of explanations as to why this should be the case. None of them make a huge amount of sense, I must confess to you. So I'm not really sure why they should. I think it's so that they can see each other, personally. Right, let us head across to Taylor. She has got a, well, dung-eating insect to show you.
We've just caught the tail end of this dung beetle, as it has rolled a fresh ball of feces of some sort and covered it in sand as it rolled it along the road. Well, and now it's trying to take it underneath the earth. So I suspect that this is an area where it has stored some other dung balls. Normally they have sort of one spot, and they will just put them all down in the same area. But let's see if we're going to see it disappear. It looks like the dung beetle is working underneath the ball. You can just see it moving, so I think it's trying to sift some of the earth out of the way and make a tunnel that will allow it to take it underground. But they often pre-dig these little balls, these little tunnels. And of course you can see there's a variety of little midges and flies that are on top of that dung ball, just trying to get some of the nutrients, some of the moisture off of it before it disappears. Let's see if he's going to manage to take it under. It seems as though he's struggling quite a bit. Perhaps he didn't do enough pre-work, and now he's having to do all of it now. Let's see. And like we've often seen, normally you see two dung beetles, one sitting on top and the other one pushing the ball. So he must have found a mate already, and perhaps she is underneath the ground, maybe laying her eggs inside each dung ball. Now remember, it's only one egg per dung ball, so they'll have quite a few. No, you can't be satisfied with that. That's a half job. Here we go. Can you see how the earth is lifting? Flies, you're going to have to fly away soon. David, this dung beetle's not doing a very good job this morning. It's very slow. Well, it's alright, I suppose. Not everybody is a morning person. Here we go. Eventually, there we go. Just starting to get it now. Maybe the soil's a little bit tougher than I sort of can see. Maybe that's why it's taking its time. as it takes the ball beneath the surface of the earth. Come on, you don't have much more to go. You're almost there. I think we could be watching here for the next 6 hours at this rate. David, have you seen who else has joined us? Look at those buffalo over there. We've got 2 buffalo, seen as the dung beetle is taking its time, who've just wandered in and then sat down, and of course accompanied by some oxpeckers. And I think that they've been moving around most of the evening trying to feed, and it's very typical sort of for the buffalo to rest. And I think that these animals unfortunately are on edge at the moment, especially at night when the Nkuhumas are out and on the prowl. Now that it's light and they can see a bit better, they look like they're going to have a rest. When they're fit and healthy and in big herds, it's actually quite the opposite of what these two have done. Normally they'll find an open clearing to rest in at night, and typically in a big herd, if you have more than 10 of you, that's quite nice to have a couple of eyes looking out and around. And then at first light, you see the buffalo getting up and then continuing with their morning grazing and stopping at about lunchtime to have a siesta and of course ruminate, like we can see these buffalo doing now, chewing the cud. But out here, you have to be able to adapt. And when there's only 2 of you, it's very, very risky sitting down at night, because something could indeed sneak up towards you. So I'd rather be standing up if I was on my own, looking around, and rest now like these buffalo are doing. And it's a good spot. You can now see also that the wind is picking up. So they'll have a bit of shade, shelter from the wind, a bit of shade, because it's going to be an exceptionally hot day today. And they've got a couple of mud wallows nearby too. So it's a perfect spot. But like Stef said earlier, it's wonderful to see how the bush has just greened up so nicely. You can see the grass coming through. However, that grass is not going to last long with all these hungry animals around. So we're desperately going to need another bouts of rain. Hopefully in the next couple of days or so, we will get another 20 or 30 mils, and that will be fantastic. That'll be exactly what we need, and I think the grass would really have had a kickstart, because there's been quite a bit of rain now, and it's been nice soaking rain, not the torrential downpour that washes all the topsoil away. But now I haven't had any luck with Karula. I've been looking for her tracks and I haven't seen one footprint yet. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to jump. Should we go up Shabam Road? Let's go up Shabam Road quickly. Let's just have a look here. Because she was suspected to be going west on Elephant Carcass, but I didn't see any footprints. But I also this could have happened while Game Drive was still going on yesterday. And we then could have someone could have just been driving over her tracks as she was walking along the road. Maybe she wasn't even on the road. But she does love this area. I've seen her here a couple of times. So we'll just take it very easy and take a nice slow drive. We'll check for footprints. See if she left anything behind. But now, David, I'm very disappointed. I was saying how beautiful it was when we started, and there was not a breath of wind. But hopefully it'll be like the Eastern Cape where I'm from, where either it's very windy in the morning and then there's no wind in the afternoon, or it's windy in the afternoon and then there's no wind during the day, in the morning. So let's hope that for this afternoon the wind is going to die down, because we know that the animals don't like the wind too much. Maybe they knew about it before I did, and that's why they were all hiding away from us already. They were prepared. See if we've got... Who's up there? No, nothing. I'm sorry, I'm scanning, looking in the trees, looking on the ground, which is what you have to do when you go out on a safari. It's quite tricky, because you're looking on the ground, you're looking in the trees. Now, who have we got hopping around over here? I saw a little bit. It's quite sneaky. Oh, do you know who it is, David? It's coming out. It's our friend. You see it up there? It was our friend the buffalo weaver. There we go. There, they're landing. It's a pair of them. Now, I know some person was wondering this morning, was asking if we could go and look for some drought. Definitely. Went and saw some fresh footprints. I've actually got some on the road. No, those aren't them. But we'll go and have a look for you. Now, these are, of course, the red-billed buffalo weavers. These are some of our favorite birds. They are living all over. Now, I think Herbert's just trying to get... Oh, there. Look here, wait. Look who we've seen. Look who we've got in front of us. We found Stef. We found Herbert. But those buffalo weavers, they're everywhere. So we'll get some more. Let's go to Herbert to have a chat, because I think he's trying to track Karula, and he literally just radioed me. So I presume he probably heard the sound of my voice. I'm not the quietest person. Hi, Herbert. What? Do you have any news for us?
No sign this side.
Absolutely no sign on elephant carcass either. And I checked Gari Cutline a little bit, but only near Weaver's Nest. I don't know where she's gone, unless she's gone north.
No.
So maybe I'll go around and check there towards Chile, Pan, those areas, Twin Dams.
So did you check Twin Dams?
I haven't. Twin Dams, yeah, I checked the dams itself, and then I checked the... no, I haven't gone that side, but I'll go back around.
Yeah, maybe.
Right. Strict instruction from Herbert, as you heard. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Perfect. Please let me know.
I'm not sure who was the last station in the lobby.
I haven't heard any guards coming on drive yet. I'll chat to them now, though. Thanks, Herbie. Right, you heard Herbert, though. We've got strict instruction. We need to turn around. And the good reason, because Herbert's going to check through this block. And we will go and we'll check the boundary just to double check again if she hasn't come across. Right, thanks, Herbert. See you later. So we're going to go and do that. And I didn't quite hear what Kirsty said, but she said something about Stef having bees.
We were in the area where we found that beehive, or the bee eater, the greater honey guard, excuse me, what am I talking about? So this is the beehive that the greater honey guard showed us the other day. I think it was Saturday or Sunday or Monday even. The days are blurring into each other. And when we were last here, the bees were clustered around the entrance to the nest. Now I see that they are coming and going. So the worker bees are coming and going through that entrance, but it also has given us the chance to study it a bit more. And what is absolutely interesting for me is that landing pad that you can see on the bottom of the hole. That's a waxy deposit. And then inside the nest, just inside on the roof, there was a bee that just went in, legs full of pollen. So bees have got back legs with sacs on them, and they stuff the sacs full of pollen. What they then do is they take that pollen and they basically mix it with saliva and water, storing it in a hole in a waxy matrix, and that matrix is the honeycomb. As the water evaporates and the saliva and I suppose a bunch of other things, fermentation of a sort is happening, that mixture slowly turns into honey, and it's that the baby bees are fed. Isn't that incredible? So you're just looking at basically a baby factory in there, and you can see there's a bee at the entrance, and one just came in again. So I've seen now 3 bees coming in. Just before you came to us, I did see a bee leave. There's one at the entrance, perhaps going to take off now. There we go. No, just doing some maintenance. So there'd be bees. There's a bee, another bee just came in, another one came in. Wow, they're powering in now. So bees and wasps and ants are all related. They come from the insect order Hymenoptera, and the Hymenopterans are the most advanced insects on the planet. They have the most advanced social structures, the largest social structures. If you think of leafcutter ants in the jungles, several million individuals in every colony. Bees, as we know, can live in huge colonies, and then wasps, of course, don't live in as big a colony, but they are carnivorous and some of the most extreme and most vicious hunters on the face of the planet. Now, bees obviously don't need to feed their larvae living things like wasps do. They feed their larvae honey. Ants similarly feed their larvae on a whole variety of different things, but essentially what happens is they've got a life cycle that goes from egg through to larvae to a pupa to an adult, and that's how the life cycle is. It's called a holometabolic life cycle, or a complete life cycle, and that's what bees have. It's just going to be interesting. VM made the comment as we stopped over here that nest is basically impenetrable. Now, what preys on bees? Obviously, bee larvae and bee honey are a huge food source for animals. And one of the animals that preys on them a lot are the honey badgers. Now, honey badgers get into they're little viverids about this big, and have got a fearsome reputation for loving honey and everything else. And what they do is they'd basically excavate the entrance tunnel of this particular nest. But that's a silver clusterleaf tree, and one of the hardest, most resilient woods that we have out here, and would literally be impenetrable to most honey badger attacks. So unless this tree actually catches fire, which it could quite easily do. It is a living tree, but I see there is some wood exposed there. So unless the tree actually catches fire, or the nest gets harvested by people. Now, James, you've asked me if bees have a preference in trees. I'm sure that they do, actually, but what their preference would be is for pollen. And so it depends on the honey actually gets flavored by the pollen that's available in the area. And the pollen can sometimes impart a pleasant taste or a bitter taste to the honey. Now, there are brands of honey that we get in this country called wild honey, which is basically beehives that are left in forested areas or bushy areas, and the bees are left to get pollen from any variety of plants. Difference, I can find no difference between honey that comes from fruit orchards or wood plantations, eucalyptus or pine, and from wilderness areas. I'm not that good at tasting the difference in that particular honey. But we will visit this beehive from time to time and keep you updated on its progress. I think it's going to be fascinating. Anyway, why don't we go and see what James is up to?
I really think it's time that we convince Stefan that he needs to come up with a solution, a non-invasive solution to harvesting a little bit of that honey, because it really would be quite special for him to really complete that story by fetching a little bit of the comb out and bringing it home to camp so that we might have it with our breakfast. Don't you think, Brian?
I do.
Yes. Now, we've just been checking in the area where the Lion Pride was yesterday. They are not there anymore. I can't find any tracks. Now, that's either because I'm blind, which I don't think I am, or because the ground is so hard, which is a possibility, or they have simply not gone where I think they've gone. Anyway, we're going to continue sort of searching, but we're going to pretty much move on to other things now and see what else we can see during the course of the morning. Ideally, we do want to try and find them before the end of the drive, because we want to have them for this afternoon's TV show, of course. And once you've found them, normally the lions are very obliging in that they will just sit around and do nothing at all. Belinda, now you were asking about white mussel disease and the buffalo, and do I think that they have died as a result of also this white mussel disease? And the answer, Belinda, I think is no. I don't believe so. I think that it's a disease, from what I've read, that only affects the young. So it wouldn't affect older buffaloes. I think the buffalo have been dying because there has simply been not enough for them to eat, and they also, of course, in this area are afflicted by tuberculosis. And tuberculosis is perfectly dealable with if an animal is in a healthy state. If it's got enough to eat, if it's getting enough nutrients, then it will survive TB. But as soon as it becomes starved and it starts digesting its own muscles, well, then the disease is going to take hold. And I think that's why many of the buffalo have died, and I don't think it's got anything to do with white mussel disease. Remember, white mussel disease presents as paralysis. It starts in the extremities and then eventually gets all the way to the back. And that's why those cubs couldn't move. But it's not impossible. Now, they're not in the same place they were yesterday, which is not so it's not impossible that they have managed to kind of move. Maybe they're recovering, I don't know. It's possible that they were taken by predators during the night. It's possible that they were moved by the rest of the pride during the night. Who knows? Jamie said something very interesting yesterday. She said that's why they've been hanging around. They've been waiting for the cubs. And I said, no, I didn't think that was the case. There's a cuckoo there. I said I thought that it was much more likely that it's just because there've been so many buffalo around. It's sitting, can you see it, Brian? It's in the sort of middle of that tree. Yeah, that's the one. Well spotted. That's absolutely brilliant that you mentioned. It's still there, just down below. Down a bit, and to the right. There's a sort of reddish stump in the shade, down a bit. Yes, no, yes. Just it's through. I can. It's just flown off. Okay, thank you, Kirsten. And so that might be the case that they were waiting around for the cubs, and I think that there's probably an element of truth to that. The fact that they have had so many buffalo in this area has meant that they have not had to leave the cubs and move off. So that is a good and positive thing for those youngsters. But I guess what isn't a very good and positive thing, there's a Nyala over there. What isn't a good and positive thing is that perhaps the lions are not diversifying their diet sufficiently, as Joanne suggested, and perhaps therefore the lack of other prey species is not going to improve things for the cubs in terms of their vitamin E and selenium requirements. Anyway, that's a very cheerful looking Nyala, and the Nyala is starting to put on nice condition now. Some of them were looking a bit mangy at the end of the drought, but now they seem to be getting a lot better. And we've had many questions about mange, of course, and much about disease and whether or not the drought has caused the mange outbreaks. I think that drought is probably very good for any kind of disease, in much the same way as that it's good for predators. Well, except those that get white mussel disease, of course. It's good for disease because it provides them with victims. It provides disease and pathogens with victims that do not have immune systems capable of dealing with them. And so I think any kind of disease, be it mange from mites or TB from bacteria or whatever viral infections there might be, anthrax, for example, which is a fungus, not a virus, any of those sorts of things I think will do very well after a drought because the animals' immune systems are so suppressed. Oh, I can't believe my luck here. Hang on. You just stay there, Brian. I think I'm going to capture something very special in the footwell of this car. I have captured it. It is a cicada. Isn't that awesome? Now, the cicada, of course, as we know, goes bzzz, but not this one. Why does this one not do it, Brian?
doesn't have back legs.
No, try again.
You're holding it.
It's a lady. It's a lady cicada. Now, everybody, I don't know, where's the light best, Brian? Is that okay? Under there, on a male cicada, where I'm pushing there, you can just see a slight hole. See the little slit there? On the male cicada, that's where the sound-producing organ is. And he would be doing probably some alarming sounds if this was a male, but this is a female, and it's in there that the sound chamber is. And it's a little membrane that flaps together in much the same way. You know how when you push a Coke bottle down, it goes pop, and then pops up again, bottle top lid. That's what that membrane does, very fast indeed, and it makes that high-pitched sound. Now let's see if she'll fly. Are you ready, Brian? Are you going to track her?
I'm going to track her.
This one is not very good at flying. Adrenaline Rush, you say there's a skull on it.
Down its back.
Yes, I suppose there is, isn't there? It's quite a remarkable design. That's very cool. Thank you, Adrenaline Rush, for pushing that out. We'll call this the Skull's Head Cicada. Alright, I'm going to put it there and see if it'll fly off now. You see, they don't live very long, of course. She may well have laid her eggs already. Oh, she doesn't want to let go. You see that, Brian? She wants to be my friend. Oh, right. Well, you can come along with us then. Let's carry on. There are two young Nyala bulls here. This is quite interesting. It's probably getting to their first dressage dance. Sorry, Brian. I don't mean to have parked you on such a slope. See, they've put the mantle on their backs up. They're too young to be fighting for mating opportunities, these fellows, but they still will have those sort of playground fights over dominance. And of course, in the case of the Nyala, it's not very obvious. It just looks like they're having a bit of a slow walk. But the mantle that was put up there on their backs is very obvious and indicates that there's some kind of dominance play going on. Marvellous. It is already starting to become something of a kookathon, isn't it, Brian? Yes. But we're going to turn around here. I do not wish to go all the way up that road. My friend the cicada is still with us, everyone. I'm not sure what to do with her. She looks a little bit nervous. Right, now let us do the answers to my 2 truths and 1 lie. Extremely difficult quiz it was this morning, not so, Brian?
Yes, extreme.
Yes. How were the answers, Kirsten? Aha. Right, so fact 1, 65% of you, including Elaine, James and Justin, you said that was a lie. That lions had been domesticated by the Mongols as hunting dogs. 65% of you, I'm surprised it wasn't slightly higher than that, said that that was a lie. Fact 2, that must make it 35%. Thought that the fact that lions were the most widely distributed animals in the world, or mammals in the world, was untrue, and then none of you thought it was untrue that lion dung smells disgusting. Well, I'm very glad that you all got that one correct. But the 35% of you who said that lions were not the most widely distributed mammals, they were, you know, it was quite interesting. They were distributed throughout the New World, and in various guises, throughout Europe, throughout Asia, and down into Asia Minor, and into the subcontinent of India, where they still occur in a remnant population. And I'm sure there were different subspecies of them, but the lions were once the most widely distributed mammal in all the world. Then, fact 1 is not completely as ridiculous as it might sound. The Mongols did in fact domesticate cheetah to be hunting dogs. Lions, not so much. Lions have a, rather like buffalo and zebra, show a disturbing propensity to homicide, which of course is not a good thing if you want to remain alive. Is it, Brian? Is it, Brian?
No, it isn't.
No. So cheetah were domesticated as hunting dogs by Genghis Khan. Apparently he had a stable of them. But lions, no, not so much. Thank you for taking part in that. That's really helped us to sort out how to do things this afternoon. We might have to do one more as the morning progresses. Now, Brian, that bird, the orange-breasted bushshrike, seems to be quite close by. Gorgeous sounding bird, sometimes known as the James Bond bird. Now, of course, ornithologists seem by default to be tone deaf, because that doesn't sound like the James Bond theme tune to me, does it?
No.
No. Perhaps it's the fact that it's so cryptic.
Maybe.
Morse code, perhaps. Anyway, gorgeous sound. Let's carry on. No signs of those leons. Let us head further down towards the south. Time of the year now. Once the northern part of the Sabi Sand, and not the northern part of the Sabi Sand, the northern part of the Kruger is experiencing some rain, and that means that those grasslands around Satara are starting to flush, and that's where the elephants go at this time of the year. Right, Taylor has obviously given up on Djuma. She's heading across to Cheetah Plains. Let's go and find out why.
Now, I'm very sad, but I haven't even seen one footprint of Karula this morning. And that obviously makes it a little bit more on the difficult side to attempt to try and find an animal where you're not sure where she has gone. So, and, well, we've given up. I have given up. And I just thought that this morning it was awfully quiet on the Game Drive radio, which is very unusual. And I wondered, oh, hang on, before I tell you why, there's some starlings, some violet-backed starlings. Is that one there? No, that's not one. That is something else. But where's the starling gone? I saw it. Where did you go? This looks like a flycatcher of some sort that we can see the silhouette of. Here it is. It's one of the grey flycatchers. I forget exactly which one, but I'm just sorry. I'm having a look because I want to find you. There were some violet-backed starlings. And with this light, it would be absolutely beautiful. But it seems as though they have now flown away. That's a pity. Oh no, there it is. Can you see it on the branch? You see it? Hang on, we've spotted it. There it is. There, well done, David. There's a violet-backed starling with some breakfast by the looks of it. Oh no, are you eating a leaf? I don't think you eat leaves. What are you doing with that? Nope, not breakfast. Perhaps it was just brushing its teeth or its bill. Not sure what it was doing with the leaf. Now let's see if it's going to hop out in the sun, because then we're going to get a true look at how stunning this bird really is. But this looks like the male, and the reason why I suspect that it's the male, because as it flew, it showed that beautiful sort of violet iridescence that their name says that they have, and the females lack that iridescence. They're the same color, but they're just more dull. They don't sort of shine in the sun. But let's see if he comes out. Hello, little one. And they've got the most beautiful call, but it's very difficult, of course, to try and mimic it. I'm going to quickly find it for you while you look at the bird, and we'll see if we can play it. S for starling. Oh, the Game Drive radio is very loud. Right, now we need to find you keep watching. I'm going to play the call for you, so if you hear the noise, you can, it's me. Isn't that an incredible call? And you can see why I say it's very, very difficult, of course, to try and mimic it. Maybe James, because he's very musical. He could probably perhaps pull off some of those tones, but me, I'm afraid I'm very much tone deaf, and that's probably not going to happen. Now I'm also looking around because normally you don't see the violet-backed starlings on their own. They're quite gregarious and you'll see them in groups. But not today. Maybe it's got lost, or maybe it's still trying to find a family group. These are the mysteries of the violet-backed starling, and I suppose unless we follow it, we won't really find out what it will get up to. But before it starts its day, it's going to have a preen and avoid the hot sun. Now, what I'm going to do now is we're going to leave the starling. We're going to carry on. We're going to go and explore Cheetah Plains. Let's see if we can maybe pick up on Quarantine or maybe in Kanyeni. We'll go have a look. But let's go back across to Stef and see what he's doing now.
Quite jealous that you saw that violet-backed starling. It is one of my favorite birds out here, and especially on bright sunny days like today, they're just the most vibrant colors. So I'm actually quite jealous, as I said, that beautiful white chest and that violet back glittering in the sun. Very, very cool. We are looking for tracks of Karula. So what we've basically done is come off of Quarantine, round Philemon's Dip to Shibam Road, and now we're making our way to Treehouse Dam. Last night, the last time Karula was seen, she was hunting for those 2 hungry cubs of hers and heading towards the Treehouse area, the Treehouse Twin Dams area. So now we are making our way basically east and south. We're going to end at Treehouse or Twin Dams at least, probably by the end of safari today, and then we'll make our way up and see what we can find, any tracks or signs of Karula. I'm hoping that we get to show her to you today, or at least this afternoon. That is the plan. And we should find some tracks of her at some point, I'm almost certain. Unless she's of course crossed south, which is a possibility. Amy from Wisconsin, you've said that you miss our hyenas dearly, and you wanted to know if we could look at the old dens at some point. Amy, you and I share the same sentiment there. I also have been missing the hyena. In actual fact, just yesterday morning, Brian and I visited the hyena den off of Aubrey's Road, and I know yesterday or the day before, the lions were seen at around about the hyena den off of Mvubu Road. Inactive hyena dens at this time of the year with rain and the grass growing tend to be much the same as any other disused hole in the ground, with no real defining characteristics. We saw a lot of hyena track yesterday around Sydney. So when Brian and I were approaching Sydney's yesterday, there's a lot of hyena movement up and down on the game paths around Sydney's. My assumption therefore is that they are still holed up somewhere in the Manyeleti, just on the other side of Sydney's dam, and they are hunting there. I feel that until the lions have moved off from the Djuma area, that the hyena won't come back. It's a known fact that hyena den in areas of very low lion density, and we've had I don't know how many days now of lion, probably close to 70 days now by now, maybe just a little bit over 70 days of lion pretty much living within a 2-mile radius of Djuma, and that would be absolutely repulsive for hyena. So as soon as the lion move off, I'll have no doubt that the hyena will come back and reclaim their dens on this particular area, but of course that means that we won't be seeing them anymore, and of course, I don't know which one's better, hyena, lion, leopard. Which one would you like, Viam? Viam enjoys leopard and lion. He doesn't want to see any hyena. This is a dung ball without the associated dung beetle. It was just lying here, and I've wondered what has happened to this poor dung beetle. The only thing that I can presume is that it was eaten by something while it was busy rolling its dung ball. How sad. So the dung ball itself probably comes from that pile of dung over there, and on that smelly note, why don't we go see what I think we're going over to James with something. I just got an idea.
Something tells me Stefan wasn't quite hearing Kirsten there. I'm not sure what that is. That is, of course, is a hippopotamus, and it is not looking in great shape, much like the beefalo, very hippie. and not putting on too much condition just yet. Now we're in the pan called Chela pan, which means frog pan. And I'm not sure how many chelas there are here, frogs, but there certainly is one very large hippopotamus. And this, of course, is a favourite drinking spot for buffalo coming through here, for elephants. Sometimes they like to wallow in the mud, and also warthogs. And what's the other animal? Never mind, I've forgotten. So it probably would have started out, I always find this quite interesting, as a little puddle. And in the puddle, one or two warthogs may have come to lie for a while, and then one or two bigger warthogs would have come and rolled about and wallowed in the mud. And then after that, maybe an elephant came through and pushed it around, or sort of stood in it and shushed the mud around and threw the mud on itself. And after that, maybe a buffalo would have come and lain in the little puddle and then rolled around. And as slowly the animals, or as slowly the puddle got bigger, so the animals that took sort of the advantage of the mud and the water would have got bigger as well, until eventually it gets to this size where elephants will come and play here. Many buffalo will lie here, and then you get the hippo. And then, of course, the collection of water and the extra clay means that the trees get a bit bigger around the side, and eventually you have a very picturesque little scene like this, with a hippopotamus in the shade of a gorgeous jackalberry tree to the left-hand side. That was quite a sudden lie down there, wasn't it, Brian? Yes. Shame. He doesn't look in great shape, but he is here, of course, on his own, very comfortable in the water, so I think he'll be fine. Well, Red, you do ask a very good question as we look at a red-billed oxpecker. Get it, Brian?
I do.
Yes, good. Red, there's a red-billed oxpecker for you. You want to know how it is that the hippo can still look so ropey despite the fact that there's seemingly so much grass around. The thing is, Red, there isn't that much grass around. There's a lot of leaf around on the trees, and there is some short grass around, but it's not long. And I think much as with the buffalo, the hippo actually struggle to utilize this very short grass, whereas the impala and the wildebeest and the zebra, well, they've got the teeth and the mouth design that is able to cope with very short grass. Oh, the terrapin is eating his eye out. He's eating the sort of foamy tears that the fellow has produced there. Well, he's gone to sleep now. Terrapin is like the water version of an oxpecker, everybody. It's exactly the same thing. He's just eating off a couple of parasites, or in this case, a bit of foamy muck underneath the hippo's eye. So, Red, just to conclude your question there, I think that the fact that the hippos are still looking a bit rough is a function of the length of the grass. I think it's very short. Alrighty. That's actually quite fun to watch. Maybe let's just sit here for a little bit longer and watch that terrapin. There is the avian oxpecker, and there the aquatic one to the left. Now, a hippo like this won't have a huge number of ticks, of course, because it moves around during the course of the night. And I think it's probably various other kinds of parasites. And Michael, yes, I mean, there's just following on from what I was saying there about the diet and about the drought and the length of the grass sward. I do think that hippo and buffalo are worse off than perhaps giraffe and elephant are. Yes, quite possibly because they do have it's not necessarily a more specialized diet, but they don't have a diet or digestive system that is capable of dealing with some of the toxins in tree leaves. Now, a giraffe, of course, is adapted purely to eating tree leaves, and so it has a much better ability to cope with the chemical defenses that trees produce. But something like a hippo and a buffalo, yes, they can browse a little bit, but no, very difficult for them to cope with the toxins. And Brent saw the other day, you read about this, and he said for the first time he'd ever seen it. And I mean, he's grown up around hippopotamus. They eat elephant dung when they're in desperate trouble, and he saw for the very first time in his bush life them eating elephant dung the other day. I've seen it once before, but it does mean that clearly this new green grass is not available to the hippo. So they're eating elephant dung for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. Ugh. Now, elephant dung, of course, does have a huge amount of nutrition in it. Still, elephants only have about a 40% sort of digestive efficiency, so there's lots in it. Now, speaking of dung, we're going to head across to Stef, who is looking at some dung.
I'm looking at dung. There's a dung beetle that just flew in here. A brilliantly coppery metallic colored dung beetle, and it immediately buried itself in the dung here. But I think what he's gone to go and do is actually go underground inside here. I can't find him. There seems to be a tunnel of some sort. Oh, there he is. Gotcha. Now these brilliantly colored dung beetles quite often are also associated with carrion, and so what you don't want to do is touch this with your hands. I'm going to pick him up with a stick, and I'm going to put him down then on this piece of dung so that you can see him. There he is. Oh no, where are you going? They almost shine, they shine similar to sunglasses, I find. Have a look at the colors on that guy. Tiny little dung beetle. Look there. So what I don't want to do is touch him. You get these dung beetles that are in carrion at the moment. They can actually be vectors for a bunch of different diseases, so you don't really want to go and stick your fingers on them if you don't have to. Let's cover him up so that he's nice and safe and carry on with our walk. We still are looking for signs of Karula. Sorry, I just got a bit distracted there. That was a cuckoo shrike, male and female, that just went over us, but you can't use that for your bird lists because they weren't stopping, and so showing you the cuckoo shrike would have been a difficult thing. Here Taylor was looking for one earlier. So they resemble, in flight, they resemble the fork-tailed drongo, except that the difference between the male black cuckoo shrike and the female cuckoo shrike is where the difference is. It's almost like a drab brown bird being followed by a pitch black bird, and that is exactly what caught my eye there. It's a bit of an anomaly. They're not that common. You do find them if you're looking for them, but they're not that common. And so seeing that difference between those two birds of the same size and shape, that is how I diagnose what they were, I suppose. Alrighty, we're coming out now very close to Twin Dams, not Twin Dams Road, Treehouse Dam Road, and it's